Hello and welcome to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast. My name is Mahou Shoujo M, and I am joined by my co-host.
That Kodocha Girl.
Welcome back to episode 24 of 19 O'Clock News. This month is our 2-year anniversary, if you can
Yes.
believe. My eyes are feeling a little wet already just thinking about it. I can't believe we've been doing this so long.
I know, it doesn't feel like we've been doing it that long. Like it really, I'd say maybe a year, not even a year, honestly. Like it's just,
Oh.
what is time?
Truly. What is time? Yeah, I don't know. I guess like time flies when you're having fun, and I certainly am.
Me too.
Yeah, good. Um, so today we are going to embark on the next chunk of Obana Sensei's author notes from the manga. I was gonna say we're gonna finish it, but like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't have as many notes as I did for the previous volumes we talked about, but you
Okay.
never know. We could always go off in our tangents as we do.
As we do. We only got through 4 out of 10 volumes in our last episode, and it was one of our longest episodes. So I'm like, I'm not feeling great about our odds, but we'll see. We're gonna
All
try.
right, so do you want to dive right in?
I think it's probably time. So, volume 5 was the volume where the side panels were occupied primarily with character profiles, which were very interesting because up to that point, I mean, the series had been running for, I think, over a year at that point, and
Hmm.
Obana had not, talked about birthdays or blood types or any of those things, which are very important in particular to Japanese readers. So,
Yeah, I actually really loved when I first read the manga. This was probably my favorite volume with the side panels.
mm,
There's a lot of information about each character was developed and what changes made. And
mm,
I thought a lot of them were very interesting. Like they started out, I wouldn't say completely different. They still, I could see some of these personality traits and quirks still applying to their character if she had left them in, but they're interesting changes nonetheless.
oh, for sure.
So I actually had a note about Akito, and I've actually mentioned this on my
Hmm.
channel a few times. So she was actually going to make him more of a delinquent originally. And she decided not to because it would have made it harder for the readers to sympathize with him, which I think was a smart move.
Hmm.
Because if he had definitely brought a real weapon to
Oh my God.
school, I don't know if it would have been very hard to come back from that.
Yes, I agree. And that was a note I had as well in terms of like abandoned choices for the characters. Could have been a real gun. And Kodocha, I think, would be a very different series. Um,
It would have been more
honestly.
like her series partner,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely be a little bit darker. So yeah, I agree. It would have been harder to come back from. And I did think it was kind of interesting too that in later volumes, of course, when you learn more about um, Koharu and Fuyuki, Akito's parents, and you find out that they were delinquents, that she still managed to like work it into his story. It's still a part of his journey, but in a
Hmm.
different way. So
Yeah, I liked that detail too. She also mentioned him having more serious issues with adults, and I wonder what she means by that. Like what kind of issues would Keto have with the adult? Would he be like stealing things all the time? Would he be like threatening
mm.
all the time? I just wonder like what was running through her mind when she was developing the character.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because I mean, obviously he doesn't have a great deal of respect for authority and is also canonically not doesn't use polite speech and when adults meet him, they sort of have a prickly reaction to him for being like overly familiar, not respectful, etc. So I wonder if she would just go further with that, you know,
Mhm.
because he's never really been afraid to call somebody out, and he also doesn't believe in giving respect just because it's culturally expected. So I could see him really mouthing off more to the teachers and things like that.
Now, technically, there's a moment, I can't remember which volume it's in, and I think it's also briefly mentioned in the anime as well. But there's talks about, well, before you met Akito-sana, this is coming from Tsuyoshi, I believe. He was like way worse. Like, and they kind of show this still shot of him like with a gang. So I
Hmm.
wonder if she would have expanded on that, like that
Yeah,
part of his past, because you can still see that like that's there. It's definitely more of a serious problem that's going on at the beginning of the series. But we're left to wonder like what kind of activity was this gang getting up to?
yeah. I think there's something that's mentioned in volume 7, actually, when Mr. Sengoku is basically building his case with evidence against Akito right at the beginning of the Kazayuki storyline. And he mentions that there is a group of elementary school boys that beat the hell out of some middle school boys, and had some flashbacks to that. And I remember that's like Sana's first time hearing some of that
Mhm.
as well. Yeah, I think there probably would have been more fighting.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's what I imagine. Like maybe they would fight with other gangs, or
Mhm.
I don't know why, but and maybe it's because of that filler arc with Gomi in the anime, but like I just constantly like visualize them like stealing from stores. I don't know why.
No, I mean, I think that's probably fair. It's like kind of, is it implied or did I make this up in my brain about Akito having stolen the squirt guns? Um,
Oh,
is it, I might have made that up. I don't feel like that's based in fact, but it feels plausible.
I can't remember.
He
Oh,
just like shows up with them, I think.
yeah, they don't
Yeah,
really, I don't think they go into detail about where they came from.
that's fair. Yeah, okay. I don't know. But yeah, stealing things, fighting. I don't know. Do you think Akito would have gone like full bad boy, like smoking behind the gymnasium or something?
I did, honestly. But man, you think about it though, and it's like he would have been really young. Not that, you know, there's kids that do that are that young, but like that would have been really young to start doing something like that. But
Oh, for
maybe,
sure. I
maybe.
could see it. I could see it. One of his. Well, actually, because he says that he had tried in volume 10, he says that he'd already tried drinking and smoking by the time he was 5.
Oh, yeah.
So even younger, actually.
Let us know in the comments what delinquent behavior you think that Akita was getting up to before the beginning of Kodocha.
I'm curious as well. Let us know. So, kind of bopping on along, unless you had anything else you wanted to add on Akito's profile.
No, that
Okay.
was about it.
Yeah. Tsuyoshi, an abandoned choice, she was like, I thought about giving him actual psychic powers, but decided not to keep everything more grounded in reality. And yeah, I think about that one a lot because I think that would also have been that would have impacted the world of the show,
Oh yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. He might have ended up being like a male version of like Hanajima from Fruits Basket, because she wasn't exactly
Yeah.
psychic, but she had abilities.
Yes, yes.
But
Which it's in
that show's more not paranormal, but there's more fantasy elements going on
yeah,
in that show.
exactly. I'm like, there's more magical elements, more fantasy elements. Like if people are turning into animals, then it's not that much of a stretch to think about somebody having some vague psychic ability. Within Kadocha, I think like if Tsuyoshi had ended up being like some kind of psychic, they probably would have she probably would have needed to introduce like other characters that also had some sort of connection,
Yeah, for
you know?
sure. Maybe had like his family had abilities or, and then
Yeah.
like maybe use that as a plot point. Like Sana discovers that she has some kind of ability, but I'm happy with the choices that she went with to make it more realistic because I can't really picture those kind of things being in Kadocha. I just feel like it wouldn't ruin the series, but I feel like it would just oversaturate it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes, I completely agree. And like, there's already, I mean, you suspend your disbelief, I think, a little bit already. Not as much in the manga, certainly in the anime, just like with the physical comedy and some of the, being the mallet wax, things like that, like going through walls, other shenanigans. So you suspend your disbelief a little bit there, but within the world of the manga, I think it would have shifted, I think, the character of the story. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, it's Obana, so I don't think it would have been bad, but it would have been different.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if I would have been as invested, if that
Mm.
makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah.
Because
I,
I just feel like the focus of it was the building the relationships between Sana and Akito as well as the rest of the cast. And I just,
mhm.
like I said, I feel like the any kind of paranormal or fantasy abilities would take away from that.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been a very different show. Might not have resonated the same way.
Did you have
Any
any other thoughts on Tsuyoshi?
Not on Tsuyoshi. I have like one other character profile that I would want to talk about, which is Ray's. And I'm curious if you have any others that you want to touch on.
No, the last one I had was Ray as well.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same thing that we flagged. Probably.
You go ahead.
Oof. Yeah, which is that Obana says that she had considered doing a plot in the future where Ray sees Sana as a woman,
Yeah.
implying a Ray x Sana relationship, which
I know.
absolutely did.
It just, oh gosh.
There's just no universe. Even if Sana was a young adult or something, like it's still there's just no situation where it's not weird. Um,
Yeah, it just, and I know that culturally things are different, but I'm
mhm.
sorry. I think it would have been very off-putting.
Yes, I agree. It would have been very off-putting. I think like it's already kind of hard to get people into Kadocha because of the Rei Sana stuff. I think it would have been impossible if that had ever been even remotely canon as like a subplot even. And I'm not sure I'd be able to really look past it myself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I get comments on YouTube sometimes, and I think I got one fairly recently, like within the last week, of like, oh, well, I stopped watching because at the beginning of this, there was this whole thing about Ray being her pimp, and it was really just weird to me. And it's like, yeah, I can see like, somebody dropping the series because of that, but it's like you got to give it time. I promise it's not as bad as it looks.
Exactly. It is resolved in seven, like between episodes 7 and 9. So you've got like it just wait it out. Like you just gotta wait it out. As we've discussed before on the podcast, like at the end of the day, Ray is the child's toy. Or that's how Sana treats him. And so in some ways, you just gotta like get through that initial arc because that's something that impacts Sana for the rest of the series because she so sincerely believed that, they had a real something. So
Yeah, and I think if Obana would have included, you know, maybe developing feelings for her when she's older, that would have taken away from that, I think, as well.
I think so too. So I'm glad that it didn't end up going that direction. Definitely better.
Yeah, I think, overall, after reading all of these profiles and, other things that she's mentioned throughout the manga notes, I'm I think she made the best choices, like she could possibly make, the best changes. Like you can tell that a lot of thought really went into it, and she just wasn't willy-nilly with some of the ideas. Because sometimes in the creative process, like something might sound like a good idea at first, and then you add it in there, and then like over time, it's like, you know what, this wasn't a great decision. I mean, fine example of that, which and you can laugh at me all you want, everyone listening, but like I used to be obsessed when I was 12 with Twilight.
Hey.
And I was home alone a few nights ago. I was like, I'm gonna rewatch one of these movies. I haven't seen
Hmm.
them since I was 12. And like some of the decisions that Stephanie Meyer made when writing Twilight, it's like these aged
Yeah,
so bad, so
they sure
badly.
did. They sure did. I also was a recovering twihard for many years. I organized the Breaking, I was like 14, 15 years old, and I organized the Breaking Dawn release party at my local Barnes and Noble.
I love that
Um,
for you. That's amazing.
I was paid in a free copy of the book,
Oh,
actually.
that's
So
nice.
it was nice of them, even though I did so much unpaid labor for that thing. It's
Now,
fine.
I'm genuinely curious. Which team were you on?
Oh, Edward. Oh, like without like yeah, 100%. And if you'd like pushed me on it, I would have then said Team Mike. But I had a very close like best guy friend growing up in middle school and high school, and who was just so special to me. And I saw a lot of him in like Jacob and Bella's relationship. So when that turned romantic, I was like, oh, nope, because I'm not gonna go there with my Jacob. Um, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I
What
get
about
it.
you?
It's funny you say that because I feel like I was never Team Edward because Edward always reminded me of I guess this one guy that I liked at the time, and he was
Uh,
just, yeah. So I was Team Jacob pretty early on. I remember I had the poster
oh,
of him with his long hair in my room staring at me every day. Um
nice.
I honestly like rewatching it though, like I definitely was like, yeah, out of everything that's going on here, I still think Jacob's the best character in all of this mess, but
Oh, Jacob is a great character, and Taylor Lautner did a great job, I
he
think.
did. Yeah,
But
he's
I could never ship it. It hit too close to home.
I get it though.
Hey, and I get it too. It's honestly one of those things where it's like, I mean, the, the rumor is that Twilight started as Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction, which I don't know if that's true or not. I can see it. Angel and Edward have a good amount in common, I would say.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, it's parts of it have aged poorly. And the movies, especially the first movie, was had a budget of like $4.
It's funny. I the earlier movies to me, I think are the best ones. I don't like Breaking Dawn at
Oh,
all.
that's fair. Yeah, the two-parter, and yeah, no, I'm with you. And I have complaints. There's something kind of charming about the initial films.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. But
in
yeah,
their low budget nonsense.
but yeah, join us on our newest podcast, the Twilight podcast,
Yeah, oh
featuring
God.
M and TKG next week.
Oh no. I've been so
Uh,
out of it for so long. I'd have to like I haven't read the books probably since I was in high school, and I haven't seen the movies in at least 6 or 7 years.
yeah, I kind of I got my Twilight phase went by pretty fast, to be honest. It only lasted about I'd say maybe a solid 3 years. I
Mm.
read the books and then I watched the movies as they came out, but by the time
Yep.
the Breaking Dawn movie came out, I was out of it and I hadn't watched it. And then I watched it, I think a couple years later. I was like, I could barely get
Yep.
through it. I didn't like it.
Exact. Yep. I'm same story. Was really, really into it in the year leading up to the Breaking Dawn book release. Enjoyed it for a while after that. Watched them as the movies came out. But I was fully out of them, I think, by the time. It was one of those things where it's like, oh, well, I've seen the other ones. I
Yeah.
should keep up with this. And then like I only watched them like probably 6 or 7 years ago because my husband and I just like had like on a whim, we're like, should we just like rewatch all the Twilight movies in like 2 days? And we did, and it was mostly a hate watch. So you know,
That's great. But yeah, you want to go ahead and move on to volume
you
six
know.
of Kodocha?
Oh, I have two more thoughts on the character profiles,
Okay.
if that's all right. The
Yeah, go ahead.
first is something that Obana notes about Naozumi in the text, which I thought was really funny. She goes, he's not as popular as Akito, but his fans are really intense. And that just made me laugh so much because I Naozumi fans are so special to me because they are all so exactly they are still, if you're a Naozumi fan, you're very intense. You love that voice
Yeah,
so much. And I just think that's funny that 30 years later, that is still pretty much true.
I know. I was amazed at the accuracy of that.
Right? Oh my gosh, that one really got me. Um, and then the other note I thought was that I thought it was interesting that Sana, Aya-chan, and Fuka all have the same blood type, which I also thought was really interesting.
Hmm.
Um,
Because their
because
personalities are, other than San and Fuka, they have some overlap,
yeah.
but Aya's pretty different from them. She's very reserved. She's very shy. Other than if it's about like Tsuyoshi, she's not really vocal or outspoken about things.
Yeah, no, Aya's not very you're exactly right. Like she's not super vocal or outgoing. I could see like Sana and Fuka having the same type because, they are sort of two peas in a pod that way, but I thought it was interesting that Aya being so different from them was in the same boat, so to speak. Especially because I think like their type, if I remember, is like one that's like for leaders and things like that. So, which Aya tends to be pretty content taking a back seat with all of the strong personalities in their little friend group. So,
Hmm.
so yes, that's all I had on character profiles. Did you have anything else to add?
No, that's it.
All right.
I for volume six, I found that to be the least entertaining of the manga notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really have anything to add to those, unless you did.
Let me see. I think I only have a couple of notes on volume 6. I will just do a little topic overview for folks who are curious, which is she discusses spam phone calls, letting your friends roast you, um, the balance of comedy and drama for love plots, reader responses to the love triangle, and then changes like height and personality that happen over time. And then just like her kind of warning everybody that from here on out it's gonna get more serious. And so my main note was that she got a lot of letters about Fuka, that said things like, how dare she try to steal Akito away from Sana? And I just was sighing and tutting and shaking my head like, as much as things change, they stay the same.
Right. It's amazing how, and it's, most of the people that follow us on, I think, Twitter are they're English speakers. I don't know of any Japanese fans that follow me.
Oh, my
Um,
Instagram is like 60% Japanese followers.
okay, so you probably see it more. Um, But it is interesting how it's like across the world, in different
Hmm.
parts of the world, like the fans, like the overall opinions on things seem to be generally the same.
I agree. And also, as a Fuka apologist, I can't stand the slander. It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I can probably ignore like most like weird replies or comments that come my way. But if somebody is like, mouthing off about Fuka, I have to just get on my soapbox and be like, listen, everybody was 13 years old. They were doing their best. Akito is a terrible communicator. Like, there are so many things at play here. She is not a bad person,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
she really like. she really wants them to get together by the end of it. You know, she never really, I guess, forces her way with Akito to spite Sana. You know, there's never any kind of
Hmm.
moment like that to me. But yeah, I mean, I understand the hate because I was once there as a fan
Oh,
watching the
same.
series for the first time.
Hmm.
But I will say, like, the further away I get from it and the more that I like analyze the series, it's like yeah, it's just unjustified at this point.
I
Um,
agree.
and it starts to bother me, I guess, more and more as time goes on. Like if I see those things.
Yep.
In fact, I think my Fuka video on my channel like has a few dislikes, which I don't get dislikes a whole lot, I guess, which I guess is good.
Mm.
I know that's one of the videos that has a few more than normal.
I'm yeah, which is it's one of those things where it's like I do think if you're really holding on to like anger at Fuka, you've probably only watched the anime, and two, you might just be younger. I'm gonna make those two assumptions, and generally speaking, I haven't been super wrong. But this volume is the volume where Obana says, if you want to blame someone for the predicament they're in, you'll have to blame me. So I would like to forward all Fuka complaints to Miho Obana. You can reach her on twitter.com, x.com, at Miho Obana.
Don't send
Uh,
her hate mail, guys.
don't
Don't
send
do
her hate
that.
mail about Fuka for a series that came out 30 years ago. Please don't do that.
Oh
And
my
it all
gosh.
works out in the end, and everybody's friends again.
Yep, that's all that matters. Let your hate
Exactly.
go.
Exactly. So that's all I had for six. Did you have anything?
No, I didn't really have any notes for that.
Alrighty, on to volume seven.
Really start to pick up.
They sure do. Topics that she covers include her dog, whose name was Sana-chan, just in general, how much Sana and the Kodocha characters mean to her, how she was struggling with the events of volume 8, which makes sense, fan comics or doujinshi, and fan art, what she likes to draw, older readers of Kodocha, and then the Kazayuki Komori pop quiz.
I
What are
failed
your
that quiz the
thoughts?
first time.
Oh, same. Yeah, I would have never have noticed him.
He's very he's very background character-ish
Hmm. He's
looking,
got like a
which
distinctive design, but he does sort of fade.
yeah, but
Um,
I think that was kind of the point. Like if you
mhm.
know what his deal is, like
Yeah.
will ignore him and he feels like he's just invisible like a ghost and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, some context for people who have not read this particular author's note. The Kazuyuki Komori pop quiz is basically when his character is like fully introduced. In volume 7, she's like, he's actually been here for a while. Like, can you find the panels where he appears? And I think most of us could not until he was identified and given plot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and like look and find him again. Um,
Mm.
'Cause like I've been wanting to do like a whole deep dive with him on my channel and I've been taking
Ooh.
a slight hiatus from YouTube for a bit just to focus on
Hmm.
other real life things that are going on. But I
Hmm.
definitely like want to have a character analysis for him at some point.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good and interesting. I'd definitely be down for that. And it'd be cool if you did some sort of like comparison to his anime counterpart,
Hmm.
um, just because they are so different,
Yeah,
and how it plays out is so different. But
I know. It's interesting because I like the outcome in the anime version better. Like, you know,
mm,
Sengoku goes away and it's like, all right, he's gone. We don't have to deal with him anymore. But in the
yeah,
anime, he just kind of is like he's still in the school. You just don't really see him anymore.
hmm, yeah, exactly. A volume 7 note that's not really related to Obana's author notes, but something that I did notice as I was flipping through. was that as of volume 7, Tokyo Pop is still referring to Misako as Mariko. Do they do it for the whole series? Because I kind of felt like they had stopped
Yeah,
before
I
that.
thought they stopped too. Or they maybe they just would make a mistake and then they would it would go back and forth. But it seemed to me like it was mostly stopped by at least the end of volume 3.
Yeah, that's what I had would have said before, but I just like as I was flipping, I was like, wait a flipping minute. And it took me by surprise. Honestly, I need to because I for the podcast, I'll read whatever the chapter for whatever we're gonna dive into. I've spent a lot of time like kind of diving in between different chapters and volumes for Kodocha based on whatever project I'm working on. I haven't like sat down and like just read them all through in a little bit, and it's probably time for another like full reread.
Yeah, I'm feeling it myself because it's probably been, I don't know, it's been, I wouldn't say a year since I've read the whole thing, but it's been almost a year, I think. I
Yeah.
think I reread it in like January.
Okay. Yeah, I need to do it as well. I always intend to, and I'll touch on this when we talk about volume 10. But I always intend to do it on the same day every year and it doesn't quite happen. Yeah. My only other note on her volume 7 notes was the what to me was the deeply distressing revelation that Obana's favorite thing to draw is buildings.
Yeah, that was
What?
shocking to me too.
Yeah, she's like, I don't know, because like she spends so much time on like eyes in particular and like expressions, and there's nothing very like wooden about her artwork. So
Mhm.
it's just like very surprising to me that she's like, "Ah, buildings are where it's at, and I hate drawing shoes." I'm like, what?
I'll give her this though. I hate drawing shoes too. I can't
That's fair.
stand it.
Yeah. I am very much a kind of a shoulders up artist myself.
I would think though that as a manga artist, like especially if I was a shoujo manga artist, I feel like my favorite thing would probably be drawing outfits for the characters.
Right? So many cute fits in mangas for different series. The one that I always think of is I love Ichigo's like date outfits in Tokyo Mew Mew.
Oh yeah, I like those too.
Ugh, she's got such aggressive, vaguely like Lolita, like 2004 style, like all the lace, all the ribbons, and I am here for it.
It's so nostalgic. Like I wish I could still dress like that. But
Same.
I mean
Same.
I could, don't get me wrong, but like it'd just be weird as a woman who's almost 30.
Yep, that's you hit the nail on the head. It's like I've been especially I'm like I'm not a tall person and I do look pretty young, but I'm definitely not in the I could dress like that casually space anymore. So I've been like trying to find that like fashion line where I can like still wear my cute things, but also like still look like an adult.
Yeah, I am right there with you. I get
It's
it.
tough. It's tough. And I think it's tough being in like this particular like stage of life because like I don't want to dress, super trendy, but like there's
Hmm.
not really a lot for girls at this stage of life. It's like you're either kind of like they either age you like clothes either age you up too much or age you down too much. Is
Yeah.
kind of how I feel.
Hmm. So I just
I'm like,
always end up just throwing on a t-shirt and jeans most
yep,
days.
respect. I was gonna say my uniform for work at my job where I work for myself is typically an anime sweatshirt and leggings. So and that's all I know how to do right now. But when I go out, that is a tangent. Um,
That's fine. I like our
anything
tangents.
I do too. And so we're not gonna stop, everybody. It's just not gonna happen. It's been 2 years. Get over it. Um,
So I had one note, and this is also about Abana's art. I was
mhm.
kind of surprised that she said that she had trouble drawing Akito's eyebrows. I thought that was so
Oh,
random.
that's fair. It does seem kind of like that, but she's not wrong though. Like how they are angled would totally change his whole face.
Yeah.
So I'm just very blown away by, I don't know, not blown away is maybe not the right word, but I can definitely see why that's the issue. And even like in Deep Clear, where she's using more of her honey bitter art style, which kindly I don't like as much
Me neither.
because I think that a lot of the characters in Honey Bitter kind of look very similar. And I have a hard time identifying who's who. But what made it obvious to me that I was looking at Akito was the eyebrows.
Okay.
So
For me, it was because there's a lot of shots where he's got like a little ponytail, and that was how I identified him in that story.
that's definitely fair. And I would agree, like, that's definitely like once he's been introduced and you know that like, he's not been at home. Uh, complaints on that on another day. But like that introductory, like that picture of him at the doctor's office, that was where I was like, oh, there he is.
I thought that ponytail hairstyle fit him really well. Kind of fits that whole like I don't know how common that is in Japan, for males to have a bit longer hair like that, but it kind of fits his whole little rebellious vibe and attitude that he has.
I would agree. I'm actually not sure either about like length of hair. I know that like colored hair is really like uncommon and that actually like sometimes girls who are biracial and have like lighter hair naturally, the school will tell them to dye it black or like their hair will be photoshopped black for the yearbooks, things like that.
Wow, I
Um
didn't know that.
oh, it's wild. I That's the stuff I've noticed on Japanese Twitter that I'm just like that's a lot. um
That would be a
so
killer to your self-esteem, I think.
oh for sure. There it's yeah, it's a different culture. But I'm going in March, so I'll let you
Oh,
know
you
if I
are?
see any guys with long hair. Did I not tell you that? I'm so
No, you
sorry.
didn't tell
Oh
me
yeah.
that.
Yes, we finally I'm like like flights have been booked. I'm gonna be there in April, like the first couple of weeks of April.
That's
Um
awesome.
so I'm going with two of my best friends from high school. We've been planning this trip since we were in high school. My husband's also coming and yeah, I'm super excited. So
That's awesome. Take so many pictures and
oh,
send
for
them.
sure. I'm also making us go to the Tokyo Metropolitan Building so I can go see where Sana and Akito had their first kiss.
I
It
love that.
is not a joke. I am absolutely doing that.
Great.
Any like
You
real
should,
life Kodocha locations are, I'm going to go to there.
yes, I love that.
Thank you. I'm excited. And we're also going to try to hit up Obana's favorite sushi place.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
among other things. So, yes, I will report more. There will be so many pictures. I'll be posting them to every social channel I have, but I'm really excited. But yeah, I'll let you know if I see dudes with long hair. Um,
Please do.
do
Uh,
anything else to notice for or volume 7?
no, I didn't have any notes.
All right, zippity doodah on to volume 8. Topics include the results of the Kazayuki Komori pop quiz, a sketch of Akito, a sketch of Sana, the hand in the baby color page, artistic liberties, Sana's drawing song from the anime, Koharu's appearance in background panels, and her pets.
I always thought that Obana baby artwork was that fact kind of blew me away because I noticed that hand before until I did the notes for this podcast that we're doing, which is funny because, I've read some of the notes before, but I guess I just didn't read that particular one. So
Oh,
I was like, there's a hand in this picture. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I see it now. It's so faint. It's like
it
kind of over
is.
to the right side of this picture a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I do think she's right. You can see it better in the black and white printing than you can in color. But yeah, it's very subtle. And I wouldn't have noticed it without her pointing it out also.
I kind of liked how she mentions that it symbolizes a mother bringing the children into the world. I thought that was uh I thought that was a nice little detail. But I know
Mm.
she mentioned, I think, that some people like found the hand to be kind of creepy, which I feel like both interpretations of that image are valid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm personally on the team. I find it kind of ominous, but no, I think it's a lovely thought. And it's cute artwork. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I
um,
always like the baby artworks that are in the
yeah,
different promo materials.
yes, I agree. But yeah, I think the thing that I like about the notes in this volume are that she really doesn't include notes for the first half of the volume when things are particularly serious,
Mhm.
so it's sort of like, she's drawing focus to the story in those moments. And then like after Hayama gets out of the hospital, she's back to her notes again.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
And then my other note was just that like I can, but I can't. She talks at length about feeling like she's not a very good writer or artist. And I just can't wrap my brain around it because we've spent 2 years and like thousands of hours of unpaid labor, like talking about how great she is as a writer and an artist?
Yeah, I think literally every episode we probably mentioned that at some
We,
point. Like, oh, this
yes,
writing is so good. She's so talented.
yes. It was just like bananas to me that like she can like look back at 8 volumes of series, like her, introductory work, which I'd honestly say too is, one of her most popular and most enduring works, and be like, I don't think it's very good. Are you kidding me? Ma'am, I've been obsessed for half my life. Like,
I did read the
it's pretty
first
good.
volume of Andante, I think it's
Oh
called.
yeah.
It's not bad. I
I was
like
gonna say,
it.
I'm like, what did you think? Okay.
I haven't finished it, so I don't really have a full opinion on it yet since I don't know how it ends, but I like it. It's kind of a cozy read,
Hmm.
and not in like a boring way, I guess, because sometimes
Nice.
if it bores me, I don't want to read it. But I kind of like the added element of the music and that, and there's a little like it's kind of like a little love triangle that's going on in that story that I'm interested to see how it resolves itself.
Yeah. And honestly, I just did a quick Google because I was curious, and that is the work that she did directly following Partner. So maybe it was like a palate cleanser for her.
Oh yeah, that I mean, Partner is like it's one of the best
Mhm.
manga I've ever read, honestly. But
Oh, for sure.
it's so depressing.
It's very dark. It's very intense. It's a read that's going to stick with me forever, but
Mhm.
also was a lot. It was a lot. I think she posted on Twitter recently some artwork from Partner, and I think she said something like, the time I traumatized reborn readers, and I'm like, yes, ma'am, yes, you did. You traumatized me, a 30-year-old woman, when I read this book.
Yeah, that was I remember I think I got through that within 2 to 3 days because like it was like I just
Hmm.
have to know how this ends because it's so wild. Like it was like the craziest story I think I've ever read that I was not expecting to be like that, you know. I was expecting it to be I don't know what I was expecting it to be. I was just expecting it not to be so heavy. I was expecting maybe more comedy in it. And it's like, no, this is like straight up sci-fi
Hmm.
horror.
And very good. And as we are heading into October and spooky season, definitely give it a read.
Absolutely. It's amazing. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, really good. Really upsetting, but really good. That's kind of, I mean, I could talk more about volume 8, some of those different things, but I don't have anything that I'm like dying to add. How about you?
Yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I a lot of my notes that I have from these last few volumes, I don't have as many as I did from the ones that we talked about in the last episode.
Moving on to volume 9. Topics include Koharu's ghost, the time she won the Kodansha Manga Award, Sakura Momoka, who is her mentor and the author of Chibi Maruchan. Maruko? Mariko-chan? No, hold on. What's that series called? Retronova is always talking about it in the server.
I wrote it down here. Chibi
Chibi
Moriko-chan.
Chibi Maruko-chan. Okay. Um, that like threw me for a second. I don't know why. She also talks about luck, and then she also talks about Sana's struggles, which really kind of kick off in this volume. Um,
Hmm.
so
I think she or no, that was a couple years ago. I was gonna say Sakura Momoko, she passed away. But that was a couple years ago. I don't know why I was thinking it was this year.
no, I think yeah, it was a couple of years ago. She had a blog post about it, if I remember, and I imagine that was a difficult loss.
Hmm.
Because Momoka Sensei was so instrumental in Obana kind of taking her next steps in her career and really pushing her to go for it. So, because she had, I think she talks about how she had won like a Reborn like new artist award thing, and then like just didn't really get anywhere with it. So she was kind of in the process of giving up. She took a job, I think like at a department store or something, and then Sakura Momoka went to her and was like, I'm gonna put you on my staff, and basically could see the potential in her early on and helped her start developing the skills that she would need to be a lead artist.
Yeah, she was an amazing lady, and I'm
Yes,
so thankful for her for what she's done for Obana. Because I feel like if
absolutely.
it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have we wouldn't have a Kadocha, honestly. Like because I
Mm.
think that Obana really put her heart and soul into that, and I think that Momoko inspired her to do that.
Yes, I would definitely agree. Sometimes you just need that initial encouragement from somebody who's a little further down the road from you to see where you can go. And I mean, and Chibi Maruko-chan is like a very long running, very beloved series in its own right. So it's that was one of those losses that I think hit the whole community really hard.
Hmm.
My next note for volume 9 was something that Obana talks about. Her basic idea for Kadocha when she was first starting out had some initial changes to it. The characters were in high school. Sana and Akito were brother and sister, and Akito was a foreigner.
We can see where the foreigner thing played into it later on with the character of Nazumi.
Oh, for sure. And Akito, I mean, I do think it's very funny that Akito's like, this guy doesn't look Japanese. I have blonde hair. Like,
Right.
it's like, hello, pot. This is Kettle. You're black.
Right.
Like, what's happening?
Uh, Anime is
Uh,
weird sometimes.
it really is. It does tickle me. I'm like, I guess if you say so, if you say he doesn't look Japanese, I believe you.
It's kind
But
of
it does.
it never really hit me, but like it's kind of offensive to ask somebody that you're just like meeting.
Oh yeah, that's definitely one of those. Another example of like Akito, you know, impolite speech being generally considered rude because he just has no filter. Well, he's got a little more filter than Sana, but like Sana's got maybe a little more social grace,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
I
good way
would
to put
say.
it.
Yeah. But this concept for them being in high school and siblings and Akito being a foreigner, I'm like, it's all just like never beating the Marmalade Boy allegations.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
ugh,
Uh,
ugh. I'm glad
started
it
it.
didn't go that
My
way.
my daily Marmalade Boy slander.
It's time. It's like we always talk about Fruits Basket every episode. I will likely have a translation fixation every episode, and Ari is going to drag Marmalade Boy.
It just
These are things you can count on.
it made me so unhappy. Like it just I'm being dramatic, okay, but it destroyed me because I was watching it. I watched a good solid amount of episodes of it, right? I watched 18 freaking episodes of this thing. And I wanted to like it so bad. I really did. I just love the 90s shoujo art style. That's my jam. I liked the music in it. It was kind of funny and poppy, but I liked it. The character designs were pretty cool, but it's just like, gosh, the writing was so bad. And maybe this is a trend with me. Maybe I like the underdogs because that's why I was Team Jacob for so long. But I'm sorry. She
Underwolf.
should she should have gotten yeah, she should have gotten with Genta. Sorry, not sorry.
I still haven't seen or read it. I don't know very much about it, but so all I can do is just kind of giggle in the corner whenever you and our friends get into yet another discussion on Marmalade Boy.
Hashtag
Um,
Team Genta.
it's so funny. I am really glad that it didn't go that direction with them being siblings.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
It
oh,
would have, again, it would have been one of those things that would have detracted a lot from it. I wouldn't have been invested, kind of like if she had included the fantasy elements, it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have had the same magic to it. That solid, it's very solid storytelling. And I feel like if you wouldn't have included that, it would have been like, okay, well, there's a moral dilemma here, or there's a weird kind of like out of reality thing here that kind of makes you feel like it's not realistic, and it kind of makes you feel like it's just escapism and it's not something, that like it, because reading and watching Kodocha sometimes for me it's like it's very cathartic because of how realistic it is, and I wouldn't want that taken away from me.
yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think I have anything else to add. I think, yeah, I'm just like, yep,
Yep, yep, yep.
yep, yep. My other note for Volume 9 notes was that Obana mentions that the anime had already ended, which makes sense because the anime ended in March of 1998. And per the publishing page on my Japanese volume of the manga, the tankobon was released in August of that year. So a few months later, which is kind of interesting to consider that, like, okay, so like, yeah, they had read up to as far as like volume eight's content, basically, which makes sense when you think about where the series ended.
Mhm.
Um,
That's all I had for volume 9.
I had one more, which was just a quote from Obana. Because the first time I read through, like, I mean, I read through the manga and then it, like, many, many years passed. And I was just kind of like getting back into it again. So I was doing a reread of the series for the first time in like years. And I remember feeling really irritated when we got to volume 9 and like the doll syndrome stuff started kicking off and feeling really irritated. I had felt initially like it was like a little soap opera-y, like it just wasn't resonating with me. And
Really?
something that she says in this note kind of changed my tune on it, which is she says, in contrast to Sana's emotional struggles, Akito becomes more expressive. So it is like kind of them having the opposite issue for these last few chapters and both growing in different ways from it. So I get it
Yeah,
now.
that's awesome. Yeah, because I can see how it can be a little jarring, because you finally have them get together and then all of a sudden you have this going on and it's like, oh no, I gotta emotionally suffer through this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I never really had a problem with it though, I think. I wouldn't say it irritated me, but it was more like, oh no, like we finally get together like after 9 volumes and like we
Mm-hmm.
gotta, there's this problem. But like I always felt that it complemented the series. Like it felt logical to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it gave a depth for both of our protagonists as well. Because it was really interesting to see Sana not act like herself, and be very emotionless. And it was very interesting to see Akito kind of have that moment of where he's breaking down, because I think it's the only time in the series that we ever see him actually cry.
Oh yeah. I mean, because he processes so much internally, which you really see in like volumes like 6 and 7, when he's, going on those, like when he's running like all night every night and just like thinking, and he's so in his head. He experiences emotions, of course. He just processes them inside. So like, and so those times when things like come to the surface, it typically comes out in the form of anger. And so it was definitely development for him to tap into a different outlet.
Mhm.
It's part of his growth journey. So yes, no, I'm very much pro, in as much as you can be pro a really sad arc, as you know, I've made my peace with it. I remember that first time rereading it. I just remember thinking, oh, that is so contrived. Like this is so silly. Like everything's been so well written up to now. I don't understand. And now having a better idea of what she was trying to do, the story she was trying to tell, I'm like, okay, like I accept this. But I do remember feeling initially frustrated.
Speaking of a soap opera storytelling, though, was last year I read Mars for the first time.
Oh, that is king of, yeah.
And I
Uh-huh.
really liked it. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
But it just started to get kind of annoying at the end there, because it was like every chapter ended on this weird like cliffhanger that was
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
like, okay, we get it.
Oh,
But it just
yeah.
it felt like it pushed the plot forward for me. It just felt like it's just keeping you more, you know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. And I have a soft spot for Mars because it was definitely like one of the my first like non-magical girl series I'd ever read. I have the whole thing, all 15 volumes. We'll still go back and read them periodically. And I love the artwork. Fuyumi Soryo is such an interesting artist. But definitely the writing is not as strong as like Kodocha or other series that I've read.
Yeah,
Bringing
the
back
artwork is
like
gorgeous. Oh.
bringing back Masao at the end, I was like, ugh, I'm so tired. Like, and yeah, there's just
That
that's
was
its
a
own episode.
very yeah, that was a very interesting I will say I found his character to be very interesting, but
Hmm.
it was like, I don't know. I actually, that's funny you mentioned that, because I actually wrote down after I read it, I had a video idea specifically related to him, and I'm just, if I can find what I was
Hmm.
going to write about. This
Yeah.
video might happen, it might not, but
Okay.
oh, okay. So I have the title of this video. It was kind of a clickbaity title because I don't really feel this way, but I was going to call it the most disappointing shoujo manga antagonist.
I mean, there's definitely a good thought because I think like that's the thing with Mars too is like the villains for that series like all kind of live inside themselves. They are at war with themselves for so much of it. So yeah, I would that's an interesting thought. I will say Colleen's Manga Rex does a very good Mars retrospective video.
Yes,
If
I've seen that
anybody's
video. It is good.
interested. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a good one. That's another little off-topic moment. Um,
That's all right. I
we
mean,
did it again.
I mean, at least it's like related to Kodocha in a way. It's like a shoujo manga, and it's not like just like a weird story about like something that's unrelated, I guess.
That's fair. That's fair. So, are you ready to move on to volume 10? Last
I
one?
am. I didn't have many notes, but I just wonder if there's anyone out there that can actually name all the characters on the front cover.
Yeah, I did pretty good. I missed two. And I was really
Yep.
frustrated because one of them I knew I knew the name, but I couldn't think of the name.
That's exactly, yeah. I only missed two as well.
Okay, which ones did you miss?
This was a couple weeks ago. I don't remember. Um,
Oh, I can tell you who I missed. I missed the actress that takes over for Sana when she's at the hospital with Akito. I could not remember her name.
okay, yeah, that
Um,
was one of them for me too.
and then the other one I couldn't get was the nice teacher, who like defends Akito when Sengoku is like
Oh,
being an
really?
asshole. Yes, and then I was like, and I'm like, I've written about this man. Like I have written him into fan fiction. I know his name. Oh, I was so mad. I got everybody else though.
Yeah, I think mine was like it was one of the boys. I know it was
Was it
that.
Yunchi?
I think it was. Yeah.
Sweet Yunchi. I only know his name probably because I also wrote about him so much in fan fiction. So
I know. I always forget about him, and then I remember, like, I think it was in the server, might have been on Twitter. You brought him up, and I was like, I always forget about this guy, and I feel so bad.
he's such a I like him because he's in like maybe like under 10 panels total. Like he's like around but doesn't like contribute much. But when he does, he's mostly just like seems like a very like affable, goofy kind of guy. And I think it's like a nice it's something that I think their group kind of benefits from in the sense that like Tsuyoshi can be so serious, Akito can be so like quiet. It's like nice to have like kind of a guy's guy who's just kind of
Yeah,
he's
they.
just a guy. He's just a normal guy, a nice normal guy.
I guess because I'm rewatching Fruits Basket right now, so it's on my brain a lot. Like he kind of reminds me of I can't think of his name, but he's in the student council with Yuki. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Ooh.
He's got
I'm
the brown
thinking,
hair, he's got the
yeah, no,
goofy
I know,
thing.
I know. And voiced by Aaron Dismuke. And oh, he's my husband's favorite character in Fruits Basket. And I know his name, but I'm Kakeru Manabe.
True. My
Oh,
husband likes him too. He thinks he's really funny. He
I
is.
he's definitely one of my favorites. And actually, did you read the Fruits Basket manga?
I have not.
Oh, it's a good read because they season 3 of Fruits Basket's pretty abbreviated. They didn't get through all of the contents of the last few volumes, and there's a really excellent subplot with Manabe and his girlfriend actually, who you'd never meet in the anime.
Okay.
Um, so he's not just there to needle Yuki and be Yuki's best friend and like introduce Machi. He also has his own thing that they didn't cover, which I was just bummed by because he's great. But
So, like, I know this is silly, but like, I almost feel the need to update. I don't know if I brought it up in the last episode, but like, I'm rewatching the series for the second time, the Fruits Basket 2019. And I'm watching it with my husband this time. He's never seen it. And at first he was like, this is meh. He didn't really seem too into it, but like we're in three now. Like we just started it last week. And he's like invested at this point.
oh,
And it's so funny because last night actually we were watching it and like he usually goes to bed earlier because he has to get up super early for work on this particular day. And I was like, "Are you ready for bed?" Like because like I expected him to be because like again he has to get up super early on this day, and he's like, no, one more.
it's a very it's a show that's easy to consume. Um,
Mhm.
so I get it. It's so good. I'm glad that he's come around on it. I do think it takes a few episodes, but then like sort of out of nowhere, you're very invested.
It actually
So.
took me like I liked it the first season. Um, I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it, but it was like it didn't really hook me until like the very beginning of season two.
Mhm.
But I was actually shocked because I'm still not a big fan of Shigure. But
Mm.
my husband finds him to be like super interesting and complex and
Mhm.
like he's like I think about like what is going on in that guy's head and like his
Mhm.
motivations and it's like I love that. I love that for him that he's like at work thinking about Fruits Basket now.
Thinking about Shigure,
Yeah.
I Fruits Basket's one of those shows where I'm like, I love every character so much, even Shigure. Like there's just excess affection for every single one of them. I think the only ones that I am not as big of a fan of are the monkey, who I mostly just find very tiring more than anything else.
I
Uh,
love the monkey.
oh, I
Just
just
because just because it's so like over the top.
there's something about, maybe it's just like both voice actors in Japanese and in English. I'm just like I want to cover my ears. Like it hits like a pitch that like tickles my brain in a bad way.
Oh,
Um,
really?
it's something about that where I'm just like I'm so tired. Like I love you and I want nothing but success and happiness for you. I'm so tired.
I just find those episodes featuring them just
Mhm.
hilarious. Like you are
Yeah.
so over the top and dramatic. I love it.
I mean, a person after my own heart for sure, but
Like you
I
you think Ayame's bad.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's like truly Ayame looks like very chill in comparison, actually. So so there's your
Little fruits
contractual
basket
fruits
mini
basket mention.
discussion.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So back to volume 10. Topics primarily include using those side panels to thank readers and her collaborators, her fellow, like the artists on her staff and her editor. She talks about how her squirrel passed away toward the end of the series, which was tough. And then each of the artists kind of get a corner to make a note as well. So my big note is from Tomi, the editor, who has a quote that I might cry when reading. We'll see.
You got this.
That says, today, the day that you bought Kodocha Book 10, is a special day. Mark it on your calendars. And every year on this day, you should read your Kodocha books, no matter how old you get, no matter where you are or what you're doing. Sit down and read books 1 through 10. And I guarantee that every time you do, you'll see new things and feel different emotions.
She's not wrong.
And I just.
I'm crying. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. But it's just been so true in my life,
hmm
no matter how
Same
old you
here.
get, no matter where you are, what you're doing. I'm like, yeah. And it's true every time I pick them up, I do notice something different. I still laugh like at the jokes. I still cry when things get hard. It's such a special series. But I think I finished my collection. I got volume 10. I spent way too much money on it. Friends, don't overpay for Kodocha mangas. Just wait it out. One will come up that's a normal price. But
Yes,
I
I
panic
I
bought it.
can I promise you that. It
Yeah.
just takes patience.
It just
Uh,
takes patience. Don't panic
much
buy a
patience.
volume for like, I don't want to talk about it. Like I did. But my final volume came in probably March 5th or 6th, like of 2022, I think. So I do try to, on Sana's birthday every year, do a read through. Since it's so close, because Tommy the editor asked me to. I liked going through these and talking about the notes. It's also just like I think good to know generally because I don't know about you, but I feel like we'll get into discussions in the server or something, and I'm like, I definitely like there's definitely a note where Obana says this or talks about this. And I was wondering for a while if I had been hallucinating a lot of those, but now I know that I wasn't.
Yeah,
You know,
same here.
like can confirm Akito and Sana were almost siblings. That did almost happen.
And yeah, also, they looked like the characters from Marmalade Boy too, so
More than
yeah.
they already do.
Yeah,
Bless. But yes, I'm really glad that we finally sat down and did this one. This was a good one.
me too. Yeah, I felt like there was so much to talk about. So it was, yeah, it would have been this if we would have done one episode, it would have been like 4 hours, 5 hours.
Mhm. Completely agree. So yeah, I would say, friends, look at the cover of Volume 10 and see if you can name everybody on the front cover and let us know which ones you got or didn't get. I'm curious.
Me too.
Anything else we want to add? Any final thoughts?
I don't really have anything. I feel like I've said everything. I
Yeah,
seriously though, I really, really enjoyed these last two episodes.
me too. Me too. And it's also like, I don't know, it's kind of nice wrapping it up on the 2 year anniversary of 19 o'clock news. It's still kind of can't believe it's been 2 years that we've been so consistent with it.
I know. And it's been something that it's really like through all my real life things, like it's been something that like anytime we plan to do it and like afterwards I always am like if I've been having a bad day that day, like I'm really glad that, I have this to hold on to.
Same. And the friendship.
Yes, absolutely.
It goes without saying. I know. Yeah, I agree. It's been good. And I'm very impressed with us, honestly. We both have not we have demanding lives. We
Yes.
both produce a lot of content and do a lot for Kodocha outside of this. And we've still managed to, you know, get this keep this going the whole time. And we haven't really taken a hiatus. Like we took one
No.
break, maybe.
Yeah, I think it
So
was over the
like,
summer, I think.
yeah, I think that was like the only one though. So
Yeah.
yeah, so good for us. And thank you, dear listeners, for sticking with us for 2 years. You know, it's been reception has also been something I didn't quite expect. I was very much like 10 people from the server might listen to this. So it's been like to have actually a couple hundred subscribers has been surprising and lovely.
Yeah, it's really nice that I'm glad that the people listening enjoy it as much as I enjoy creating it with M.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Well, I guess until next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was 19 o'clock news, the Kodocha podcast. Thank you all for listening.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast.
19 o'clock news is hosted by That Kodocha Girl and Mahou Shoujo M.
We love making new friends. Feel free to join us in the Kodocha Discord under Kodocha_media.
19 o'clock news is not affiliated with any current or previous rights holders to Kodomo no Omocha by Miho Obana.